What's going on? Oh man, we're getting closer and closer. What's good, Lash? What's good?
Yeah, what's up, man? No, to a week from I guess yesterday will be the All Star break. So now we're gonna find out
Mm-hmm.
who the now the fun really begins. The getting gets going, and the if you're a team that's on the border of making the playoffs or outside looking in, either either the tough gets toughened or the if you're good and you're strong, you'll make it. But so now we're gonna find out who the real contenders are. You already have an idea who the pretenders are as far as teams for sure, like Baltimore's not going to make it. Miami's not going to make it. I think Cleveland's not going to make it. Kansas City, things like that. So you already know you have an idea who's not going to make it.
I don't know.
I just
I don't
think
know.
the National League is way stronger this year than the American League. In the American League, it's the Yankees in Detroit and I guess Toronto now, but and Houston. But in the National League, it's a tough division. Anyone come out of that league, so it'll be interesting, man.
Oh man, yeah, we have a lot to talk about. We definitely have to, deep dive into that situation coming up in a few. But today's topic, main topic anyway, is Mr. John Bacon. John Bacon, please stand up. What's going on, bro? You get paid to do something really important, and for some reason, during pivotal plays during a game, you're stenching up the place. You know what I'm saying? You're stinking up the joint. You're killing it. You're destroying us. You're killing me softly, bro. Like, cost both of our managers to get tossed this year already because of this. You know what I'm saying? So it's just something that we're both dealing with, and this is something that needs to be rectified. And listen, I just got the news today. I was, scrolling and the All-Star game is gonna implement the ABS system. So it's gonna be awesome. I know. Thumbs up to that, brother. You think that's a serious, right?
Yeah, I'm starting to think that maybe John Bacon is the reincarnation of Angel Hernandez. We were talking about him last year. A guy we
Exactly.
hated his guts because he's terrible calls. So I'm wondering if this is what that is. But it just proves, even just in the Orioles Mets game yesterday, there was a ball. I don't know why I feel like Terens is like a victim of poor play calling. There was a situation where the pitcher on the Orioles had a immaculate inning, meaning he had three strikeouts on
Nine pitches.
9 pitches,
9 pitches, yeah.
but one of those pitches was a ball, which was the last pitch against Terans in that inning, and they called him out, which is terrible because the ball was so low. Ray Charles could have seen that was a ball, but it's just terrible, man. It's been a big issue this whole season. It's not just our team's affected; everyone's affected by it,
Yeah, we
and I
gotta
don't
get
know
rid of
how you
these
rectify
umps.
the situation.
No, they have to get reprimanded. It's like,
Like
all
lose a
right,
game check.
evaluations. Yeah, you telling me that they're not having evaluations? You know what I'm saying? Well, I get evaluations at work. I'm pretty sure you get evaluations at work. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? This is just like to let you know where you're at and what you can improve on. And obviously, listen, I'm not saying that the job isn't one of the hardest jobs, you know what I'm saying? Especially from that position behind the catcher, you know what I'm saying? It's something, it's an art form, all right? You have to be able to see in a different way, you know? Can you imagine trying to call balls and strikes from that area in the back over there? Like, it's almost impossible, right? It's like magic almost. It's like, you're like, all right, we're seeing it from a different perspective, a different angle, and, we're criticizing these guys because whether or not we ride hard for these teams. It's not like these teams are suffering too. They're trying to win something. They're trying to do. I understand there's a lot of money involved, but these guys are actually trying to win something, especially the competitive teams. Like those little plays, those missed strikes. Those balls that you call strikes. That's a problem, especially in a pivotal situation. Imagine something like that in the World Series. What are you gonna say then? You know?
Well, that's what's gonna happen. It's just like at a company, like that there's this thing that's not shouldn't be used, a device, like at a warehouse that's dangerous, it's gonna fall. Well, they're just gonna wait till something terrible happens to make a change. That's in any business. In baseball, same thing. It's gonna come down to a critical play in the World Series or a playoff game, and the teams, think about it. Imagine if that was The bottom of the ninth, Torrance is the last at bat, bases loaded, 2 outs. And to tie the game, all you need is a walk, and you call a strike. Game's over. You just lost the series. You know what I mean? Mets' chance of going to the World Series just went away. I hope that's not going to happen, but you don't want it to come down to a playoff situation where that happens. And let me tell you something, man. I really like the balls and strike system. I went to a Braves minor league game last year, and it was really quick. People think,
Yeah,
oh, it's
remember you
gonna be
telling me.
drawn out. It's gonna be like when a manager or football when the coach challenges a play, it takes 7 hours. Nope, there's no one challenging. You literally, the ump steps to the side. He looks at the scoreboard. They show the instant replay with the box of the ball like they show on TV, and they say, "Okay, play on, strike. There was a strike, and move on." It's gonna be quick. Uh, you
I
know,
love it.
Baseball's progressing. You got to progress with the times. I know the old school heads. Oh, you changing the game. Some people view the baseball as like a religion, and I was like, yeah, there's some things you should change, some things you shouldn't change. One thing, for example, we had opinions about the man on set, the Manfred man. I think we should never had that, but that doesn't really affect the game because
I
game is
like it.
still.
I like
I
it.
don't.
Listen, it,
I
it
don't know.
changes. It's another. It's an added element that causes you to pitch a different way. It
Yeah.
causes you to do things differently. You know what I'm saying? There's so many different ways to skin that cat when you have a man on second. Listen, you can walk the next man coming up, right? And then all of a sudden you have a double play situation. All right. You have to create the moment. You have to figure out what you're gonna do. It's something that both teams have to deal with. It's something that makes it exciting. All right. And home field advantage. All right, there's a little home field advantage in play as well for that, you know? So I like it. But we're gonna discuss Mr. John Bacon and what needs to get done. I mean, I'm glad they're implementing this into the All-Star game. I wasn't expecting that, you know what I'm saying? And maybe this is the cause of it. Maybe John Bacon is the cause of, adapting to the system a little faster. Hopefully by next year we should have it in play. Because look, this is the first time we actually get to see this in play in a major league game. All right. It is the All-Star game. It's not, the greatest game to sit down and watch. All right, you got a whole bunch of stars. They're all happy and giddy. They're getting to meet each other for, like intimately for like the first times, and it's an honor for these players to make it. We're gonna talk about that as well because they're saying that Soto should have been an all-star. Listen, bro, the same thing that happened to Lindor last year is the same thing that's happening to Mr. Soto. I don't think he deserves to be there. All right, why? Because he was the greatest walker for the first half? No, man. Because he took 76 based on balls. I don't think so, man. He didn't produce and he doesn't belong there. That's simple. That's how I see it. But should there be a different way of selecting players into the All Star game? We've been talking about this for a week now, pretty much, with the chat and stuff, because we got a pretty deep chat, we got a diehard Mets fan that'll bleed for them, cry. He loves every single player, including Jeff McNeil. He probably has posters of Jeff McNeil in his bathroom, but we're not gonna
That
mention
boy
his name.
Craig,
Yeah, well,
I
you
will.
mentioned his name. There you go.
NBC.
Let me see. I love him, but he's a diehard. That's what I'm talking about. A Jeff McNeil poster in your restroom at home is
No,
a
it's not in his
diehard Met
restroom.
fan.
It's above a ceiling. Like you see the ceiling fan?
Oh
It's
yes,
right
yes.
above that. So when he goes to sleep, the last thing he sees is Jeff McNeil.
Wow,
you
that's
know?
awesome. You know what? But listen, we love Craig. He's an amazing fan. Like, listen, a fan like that, he's really close to my dad in that sense. You know what I'm saying? Because he's a diehard. No matter what, he's gonna sit down and watch. Yeah, he might turn it off a couple of times here and there, but he's gonna watch the whole game. But
Yeah, he wears his heart on the sleeve, especially during the
exactly,
games. It's funny. See, Craig, when the Mets are winning, losing. If Craig is blowing up the chat, that means the Mets are doing great.
yeah,
He's
and
on.
and
When they're not doing well, it's like churches in session. Like, what happened? Where did Craig go?
and the funny
I
thing
know
is,
he's not working.
no, and who it is. Even without me looking at my phone, when I hear it go off, you could tell by the pattern of the way the text comes
He
through.
comes fast. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, yeah. It's like he has a thought, he drops it, he sends it. He has another thought, he drops it, he sends it. He doesn't just compile a whole bunch of thoughts and then sends them. He sends a thought and it's ready to
as it
fly
comes.
as it comes, and I love it, because he gets excited, and when we're winning. When you hear my phone going off, like yo, we know. I'm like, even if I can't tune in, I know that we're winning, and I
Like
love that about
yesterday's
Craig.
game, perfect example. And I'm the same way. I didn't want to say nothing. I said I'll wait till see how the
Yeah,
game.
we were
When
quiet.
that
We were
game was
quiet.
over, I knew it. I was like, oh, Craig and Paul gonna eat me alive, and rightfully so,
Rightfully
because
so,
I was
because you were
talking
talking
shit
shit.
too.
You were talking
Yeah,
shit.
see,
And we were quiet. We were like, wow, they're gonna pull this off. And it looked good for you guys the whole way
wow,
through. You got a lot of those slap hits, and at first I thought Holmes was gonna get through six, and
he was
he
looking
got
good.
hurt. Nah, he got hurt in the six, man. He got. We
Yeah,
didn't
I
look
don't.
too good.
I think that was might have been the reason why, because both pitchers, that game yesterday, it was such a great game. If you like starting pitchers, both starting pitchers, and the more surprising part was Young, because he's a spot starter. He's a fill-in rotation guy until they get some guys back, and they have him in there pitch 5 innings at best, see what we do. And he had a great game. Now, granted, some balls went his way, some strikes went his way,
Yeah,
you
Mister.
know,
And
but he looked
the
great,
ump
and I
had
was
his
like,
way too.
what? I was like,
Yeah.
wow. And Holmes looked great too. He made Holmes look like a genius out there too.
No,
And
but
then the
don't get it
bullpens
twisted.
came, and that game came down to one bull. Because if you think about it, it was only one guy in both bullpens that messed up the game, and it was Brian Baker. Everybody else was great. The Mets bullpen, Brazabon, he had an amazing game.
Yeah, that was
Since he
scary
lately
for
has
me.
been implode me. He
Exactly. But
lately
listen, whew,
implodes.
listen.
You know.
That was scary for me because all right, so we got Diaz warming up right in the ninth or something like that, right? He comes in for the ninth to stop the bleeding, so make sure that we can make it to the 10th. The game is tied at this point, and I'm like, holy shit, here we go. So he makes it out of it, and I'm like, all right, I was proud of him. I was like, all right, he did his job. He actually came in a serious situation, and he was able to pull it off. And then Brazoban comes in, and we scored, and we're like, all right, now we're going into the bottom of the 10th, man, and it's going to be easy for them to get this run across. I have a feeling they're going to set it off with a bunt or something. No, that's not what happened. Brazoban comes in, he figures it out, and he gets the game. I'm like, oh, wow, I can't believe it. But, you know, listen. I don't want to, I want to talk about Bacon a little more, right? I know it's crazy, like he makes me angry, but you know, we have the numbers here, right? So overall accuracy, 92%. All right. You're saying, all right, 92%. All right. If I score 92 on an exam, I did great. I'm going to be happy about this. I'm going to have a little swag in my step. You know what I'm saying? Now, 92% as an umpire, it doesn't fly the same way. Do you agree?
Yeah, because that means that the 8% that you missed, they were in crucial situation, and it swayed which way the game went. So
Yeah.
those stick out more because it's just like it's like any job, right? For example, if I'm doing a good job on my job, right, and you're doing a great job at your job, is your manager gonna come bother you? No, they only come
No.
talk to you when there's a problem. Hey, Lasha, man, the patient said you did this, and that. Hey, Pablo, blah blah blah. Your partner said you forgot a piece of equipment on at someone's house, and now we gotta go find it. That's the only thing they know is the problem. Same thing with these umpires. Well, umpires are great until we have a problem with them. But now that we notice that in the 8% that he's missed calls, they came twice against the Mets, and so now it becomes a problem. Mets and the Yankees, and then the other, I think it was a Toronto and Baltimore way back. But either way, it's just you notice 8%, and
Yeah, it's
the
crazy.
mistakes
But
stick
you know
out
what?
more.
Yeah, but no. Then it's like 2.5% above expected. So, you know what I'm saying? They expected these mistakes, but he did better than the average. You know what I'm saying? Like get out of here with that. So basically
You don't care about
17
average.
17 called balls inside, all right? So he called 17 balls for strikes, right? And then 3 called strikes outside the box. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm sorry, bro. You know, like I'm sorry, bro. I'm not feeling it. So his ball accuracy was called out at 97%, right? And his strike accuracy was at 83%, and the average, nah, get out of here. No, 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 we're not. This is not working, Like, listen, they're not gonna lose their jobs. They're still gonna hold positions. They're still gonna be calling the strikes, but the ABS system is gonna be overwatching. You know what I'm saying? Which is great. This is what I kind of like it. Mendoza got kicked out of the game the other day. Same thing. You were talking about Torrens, yeah. Like, and he was right. And he gets kicked out of the game. He gets ejected. It bothers me.
Well,
It
the inning
bothers me.
before he was barking at him about the ball. Same thing. Aaron was, Aaron was chirping at him too, and so they're both rightfully upset. But it was the bottom of the ninth. He was trying to save his guy. He said, "Well, what do I got to lose? Forget it. I'm gonna get game's over in 2 outs, not even. So what do I got to lose? Yeah, he's gonna get a little fine probably, but he had every right to stand up because stand up for his guy. Now I think if that was like the third inning, I don't. He might have been chirping, but he would have stopped it to a point where he wouldn't have got kicked out. But because it was a crucial moment in the game, now it worked out well because the Mets ended up. No, that game they ended up losing, but still, it was. They were down by two. I think they had a man on first or second, but still, you knew it was coming because looking at Mendoza in the dugout. He was about to boil over, and he just said, "Well, forget it. What I gotta lose." So he did the right thing. Uh, you know, showing up the umpires in this case. He had a legit reason. And they don't like when you argue balls and strikes. You know how you solve this problem? You still have physical umpires, but you have
Yeah.
someone to back them up,
And no, it's
just like
perfect
in
because
football.
they
They
get to
do in
challenge
football.
it now. Yeah, it's perfect because they get to challenge it
Yeah.
now, which is awesome. Because listen, this takes away all the negative energy in the game, all the spats that the
It takes away
umps
the
and the
momentum. It
managers.
doesn't ruin the
Eh,
momentum.
exactly. Thank you. It just, listen. Let's play ball. Let's play ball. This is what I love it. I love it. It's gonna work out. It's gonna work out. It's something that I'm for. It's a very low percentage. You know what I'm saying? That are like, we don't really care for this. You know what I'm saying? They don't like it. 10%. All right. 72% of fans, during spring training said that they like the experience and it's a positive one. Like this, they feel like it's gonna be for the good of the game. And I agree. Listen, I agree. But we're gonna move on and we're gonna hope that, it works out for them in the All-Star game. Remember what I said to you the other day? I said, you know what, I'm gonna be really interested in watching the All-Star game now. But due to this change, I'm definitely gonna tune in. I'm gonna record it if I have to, whatever I have to do. If I can't, watch it live, but I'm gonna watch it because I want to see this go into play. And I want to hear everything they have to say about it and how soon they're gonna try to bring it. Because all the news is gonna come through there. So it's kind of like for baseball fans, it's gonna be something to tune into. It's gonna be a little different than the norm.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna watch. Oh, actually, I don't know. If I gotta work, well, you know me, I'll still watch it on my phone. I hope I don't have
Yeah,
to work. But if I have to work, whatever, I don't care. Um, but either way, it's gonna make a difference.
it is.
The players, I think the players will be receptive to it. Who's gonna be against it? The old fart fans who've been fans since 1912, or for whatever.
I
Who
mean, that's
cares?
us now. That's us right now because we're the
I
older
know.
generation now. There's my dad, your dad, and then there's us, right? And because we're
Yeah.
we're we're getting older now, so we're the older generation. You know what I'm saying? And if
What does your dad think?
my dad is like, you know what? If it's gonna make the game better, let's go for it. I think it's gonna make the game better, especially when you're at home and you're like, that was a strike, bro, and the ump calls a ball. Now we can fix that problem instead of complaining about it for 3 innings. You know what I'm saying? Because that problem isn't gonna exist anymore. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I said, if it means making the game better, it makes it more interesting. Uh, Now, some people are like, oh, but now you're gonna take away the because I don't know about you, but I get a kick out of watching managers, start kicking the dirt on the home plate, or I forgot one manager was he went around the whole bases and took all the bases out and started throwing them in the
I
way.
love it. I love it. It's funny. It's
It's
funny,
the
but
antics.
yeah, I mean, it's
It's funny when it's not
comedic.
your team.
Yeah,
You know, when
exactly.
it's your team, you're like,
It's
yeah,
not
give him
funny.
to him. You
Yeah, it's
know,
not funny at all. But yeah, so like we were talking about Soto, right? So what do you think? You think Soto deserves to be an All Star? I definitely don't think he does. You know, like I said, he showed up late. He's starting to hit now, and guess what? No, you don't deserve to be an All Star. This is the first time, believe it or not, since 2021 that he doesn't make the All Star team.
but you know what? No, no, he had a slow start. It's what happens. But you know who made the All Star? That finally made it All Star and deserving of it. Lindor, first time as a Met.
Yeah,
It's a
but you know
long
what?
time
He
coming.
he was hitting. He hit,
He's
and he
hitting.
deserved
You
it.
know, you
He
know
hit. He carried us. You know those 40 something wins. You know they didn't come. You know he
him
helped
and
a lot.
Alonso.
Alonso, exactly. Him and Alonso took the team
So
for a ride.
Lindor's the
And
only guy, in my opinion, that deserves it. I would have gave if McGill, if Tyler McGill, I know he had his guts at the moment, but if he had stayed on course like he was doing, he
oh
would
my
have made
God,
it.
I was loving him.
Peterson would have made it. But then
I
they
thought
had three straight
Holmes.
games.
Yeah.
Holmes would have made it too, but then he
Listen,
had the
Holmes
last.
had 8 wins for like the last 4 months, man. Like it's crazy. Like he won 8 real fast, and then like he just died.
And for someone who was a closer, I was like, wow, I can't believe he's doing a great job because I thought it'd be hard for him to transition.
Same
But
here.
he slid right in there, no problems. He was raking and dealing and making everybody look silly. And then, but you get as you get closer to All Star game, you get judged based on what have you done for me lately. It's the
Yes,
way
sir.
life is. And also, as far as the All Star game goes, I think you need to get rid of the fans voting because fans are biased. You're gonna vote 1,000 times for Lindor, whatever, 1,000 times for Alonso. I might root 1,000 times for Cunha or Mullins, even though you might realize, okay, yeah, Mullins is not having a great year. He's okay, but he's not really an all star. Same thing with Cunha. Only reason why Cunha is just like Soto. They both struggle out the year. Only reason why he made it because he's the home team. If they were playing in
Yeah,
Cincinnati, he wouldn't have made it.
yeah.
Acuna is not an all star. He came
No,
late into the
first
year.
super late. Like as
Yeah,
always,
he's
as
literally played
always.
1 month. Granted he had an injury, but still he shouldn't be in it. It's
No,
just like
definitely not.
but
But you
it's what it
understand,
is. It's
politics. It's the
bias.
politics of the game. It's okay.
How
Listen, this is the stuff we deal with because we love the sport. But we
you
know
know who
it's
I would have put in
ridiculous.
there instead of him, who's been the most productive on the Braves. I would have put in the catch up Baldwin. He's been the most productive for them since as far as the most consistent.
Yeah, but
Drake
that's not
Baldwin.
good enough. That's not good enough. That's
Who
like
cares? You just need
I
one player
know,
to represent you.
I
Who
know
cares?
exactly. I say two all the way down. You know what I'm saying? 30 teams, two each, and it should be based on numbers. You know what I'm saying?
One
Or you
pitcher and one
produce.
hitter.
You know what? I like that. I think one pitcher, one hit. Okay, that works for me.
Yeah,
Listen, I
you
mean,
know.
listen. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 1 and 1, 1 and 1.
So
But
who for the Mets would be what? Clay Holmes and Lindor.
and then door,
You
and then you
know.
work your way down. Yeah, you work your way down.
For the Braves, I guess I don't know. I don't know. Either Swallenbach or Strider. I don't know. It's hard to tell. And then I guess either Baldwin or Zuna for the Orioles. Would have been Sagano, but he's struggling lately. But I'm just one pitcher. I think it should be one pitcher and one position player. It could be anybody. And pitcher could be a closer. It could be a relief. It
Yeah,
doesn't have to be a
of course, because
starter.
you need that stuff for the game anyway. So
Yeah. So you know, but now there used to be back in the early 2000s. You had teams that didn't have no player represented, and then that's what made it exciting as a fan because it's like, wow, my team is actually represented as one guy. Where
yeah,
there's years
doesn't
where the
matter.
Orioles didn't have anybody, where the Mets didn't have anybody. Now you
Yeah,
have to have a representative.
yeah, it makes sense. It's the All Star game for
Look
all
at the
30
White
teams.
Sox. Look at the White
I
Sox. They're
know.
the worst team in
Nah,
the
but that
majors.
doesn't. I know, but that doesn't mean that they don't have the little gems here and there. You know what I'm saying? Because the more you
Yeah, no, that's
lose,
true.
the more you know. But let's say, okay, we're gonna talk about a lot of great things. This is funny because I know you noticed it. I noticed it. So like all the good teams got to like a good number, like like those 46 wins, 45 wins, and then something drastic happened, or like all over the league. It was kind of crazy. Everybody just started to like tank and lose. And we're talking about everybody, right? We're talking about the Mets, the Dodgers, San Diego. San
San
Francisco,
Francisco,
the Yankees, right? The,
Toronto.
Toronto, it all
Oh, they got
happened.
hot.
But
Yeah,
Toronto got hot. This is so we can't mention Toronto yet. Toronto's on the other side of the spectrum, right? Because Toronto definitely got hot. They won 10 games in a row. They lost this afternoon, and they still won the series against the White Sox, but they lost 2-1, and the streak was broken. Their franchise record was 11 games, right? They matched it twice. They did it in 2015, 2013, and 98. Pretty impressive. Listen, they're on top of the division right now. The Yankees continue to struggle. They played the Mets. They lost the series. They got swept by Toronto in a 4 game. They went through, a couple of teams, and now they're moving on. But that's the type of streak that took them where they needed to go, and now they have to hold it there. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what's funny? You guys were so far down because you're one of the teams that actually played really well in, the last
the
couple of
last month.
series. Yeah,
Yeah,
you guys in June, you guys were
Mm.
pretty fucking amazing.
16-11. Yeah,
Exactly. That's a winning record in the month of June. That's something the Mets couldn't do. That's something the Dodgers couldn't do. The Yankees couldn't do. So okay, so we saw a change, right? We saw something completely turn around. Even the Pirates were, for some reason, started playing really well. The defense and their pitching really clicked, and they were holding guys off. They swept the Mets.
yeah.
So
That it's
we're talking about the teams at the bottom of the pile changing things around. When you look at the divisions now, you look at the standings, they're a lot closer now than they were prior to June's baseball. Those 30 games that happened that month, prior to that, the standings were completely off. It was like teams were going on a run. It was like, these executives are like, no, no, hold on. This is going to cause a problem. The fans are going to stop watching their teams because they know that they're out of it as we speak. And we're going to have to, listen, I'm that guy that's going to say that all sports are fixed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like they already know who's gonna win the World Series, and these players get paid a lot of money to stay quiet about it too. And think about it, they're professionals, man. They do things that the average man can't do. When a ball is hit, towards you at 110 miles an hour, you're able to snag that, grab it, position yourself properly to throw the first at another 100 miles an hour. Like while guys running down the line trying to beat that throw, it's pretty impressive. It's kind of crazy. But like I'm saying, if you know what's coming and this is all like predetermined and premeditated prior to even the game starting, and they're like, all right, and there's communication between both teams in the league, and they're like, all right, bro, in the third inning, Alonso's gonna come up. You're gonna serve him a meatball, and he's gonna try to crush it in the spot. He's gonna try to land it. Think about it. Back in the day, players like Kirby Puckett. I'm sorry, I'm ranting right now. I'm just going crazy now. But players like Kirby Puckett and McNeil, another guy that was able to put the ball in play, like put it in a position where there was nobody defending, and that art for some reason completely disappeared off the face of this earth. So you're telling me that you can't, you get paid all this money, you train so hard, and you can't put a ball in play. Like you're always hitting it like so hard that you don't even know where it's gonna land, and you're hoping for the best. That's how they play baseball now. It's kind of weird to
yeah. It's interesting.
me. You got a lot more to say. Don't worry about it. They're not gonna knock on your door. They're not gonna snatch you away and say, you know what, you were talking shit about our sport. You must disappear now. They're not gonna do that. I mean, it'll be easier for them to do it to you because of where you're at. You know what I'm saying? But it's gonna take them a lot to get me out of this apartment. It's not gonna happen. But listen, I don't know. Like I said, it's easy to throw a football in the air and say, bro, make sure you don't
You
you don't
drop
get in
it.
the way. You don't drop it, and that you tell the defender to make sure that he doesn't get in the way of that catch. You know what I'm saying? Like
Exactly.
it's that type of situation where you're like, boxing too. Boxing is like, bro, you're going down in the fifth round, And when he hits you, you make sure that
You look like you got stung even though you
e-
didn't.
exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like this is
Yeah,
all entertainment. You have to look at it that way. It's entertainment.
it
Like,
sells.
it sells, of course, it sells, bro. It sells shirts, it sells T-shirts, it sells hats, it sells hot dogs, bro. It sells, bro. And
But
we
yeah,
tune
go.
in.
Yeah, no. Going back to the All Star game, I hate All Star games because it's not competitive. They're not playing a real game. But baseball is the only sport where it's like literally they have to play the game. You can't just like it's not like basketball. You can just lollygag a three and hope to goodness you make it. We gonna do just throw toss up ball and let Aaron Judge hit 10 home runs and all. That's gonna be stupid. Everyone's gonna know. And it's just so it's the most realistic game that's played for an All Star game. Football they're not even doing anymore. They just do flag football. Hockey, it's not even a real game. It's 3-on-3. Lights. Slapping the puck around. It's not a real game because you know what? Those sports you gotta exert a lot of energy. They're not gonna. So you don't want to. So in my opinion, like as a Mets fan, I'd be actually happy that um, Soto's not playing because I want him, that's opportunity for him to rest. Let him rest, get him, maybe get his, because if he's playing, you don't want to mess up his swing, especially if he's participating in the home run derby. It never works out for anybody. He did a couple years ago, you
Yeah.
know. So actually, I say, all right, good. I'd rather have him have a better. Remember, it's how you start. You'd rather have him start off have a better second half than the first half. Who cares?
No,
The second
most
half
def,
doesn't
most
mean
def.
anything.
No, the
That's
first half
why.
doesn't mean anything. I know what you mean.
Yeah, that's why the Mets were able to go on that run. Freaking Lindor had a great second half last year. The pitching had a
Yes, he
good
did.
second half, and Alonso had a great postseason. That's all
Yeah.
you need. Who cares? So
Yeah.
let Soto suck ass this first half. I don't care.
No, I agree. But you guys, it's funny, man, because you guys started, you guys went on a nice little run. You guys have fun out there. And the problem was you guys were too far back. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, we want to compare it to what the run that Toronto had. Toronto had that 10, wins in a
Ten
row,
game
that
winning
streak.
streak. Yeah,
That's crazy. So they actually propelled and they were able to jump over the Yankees because they were suffering and they were struggling. So it worked out. But for you guys, the Yankees were still playing. They were trying to figure it out. But you had a lot of hurdles to leap, and jump over, and it was hard, But you started the month 3-3 now, but you guys, listen, your relief pitchers, Aiken, Serentani, Dominguez,
and yeah,
Serentani, right?
Cano.
Baker, Soto. You
Ugh,
guys, but listen, no, no, no. There's some stats out here. These stats are crazy. So those guys, right, when they came into the game, inherited 81 base runners this season, and only 8 of those 81 scored. All right, something clicked. Your bullpen was on fire. Think about it.
no, they've been great.
Okay, that's pretty crazy. All right, let me explain something to you. You guys, you know, you're last in the AL East. All right, you're 40-49. Okay, you know, you started
No,
off the
40 and
season
50 if you
40 and
include
50
yesterday
now. Okay,
because we
yesterday, including
lost.
yesterday's yesterday. Okay, and then you started the season 16-34. That was the problem. That was you created a hole for yourself. You know what I'm saying? But since then, you guys have been 24-15, which is way above 500. All right. So something happened. Something happened. The bullpen started clicking. You
The
started pitching a
rotation's
little
gotten a little
better.
better,
Yes, the rotation has gotten a lot better. Okay,
but the
and
offense is still missing, in my opinion.
I know,
They don't
but
score runs.
yeah, but listen, something is moving in the right direction. Okay, something is working.
Yeah,
Something is working. Listen,
but
in
like
the
as a
last
fan, yeah,
in the last 32 games, Gunnar Henderson's batting 302. Okay, Rushman, you know what I'm saying?
IL.
You have so many catches that went on the IL. You know what I'm saying? That causes a lot of problems for the rotation as well. You got to think about little things like this too. Yeah, a lot
Yeah,
of
because
injuries
catchers
to
gotta
your
learn how to, they got two
exactly.
new catchers, Jacob Stallings and a guy named Jackson, who literally just came in the house, came on the team like yesterday, and they gotta learn how to catch these pitches on the fly. It's like literally learning on the run, and they've been able to do it. Sanchez is out. Chad, Chadwick Trump, he came from the Braves. He's out. Hunley, they've gone through like five catchers already, and they have a star catcher in the minors. He's just not ready to come up yet. He's in AAA.
Yeah.
Basalo, they don't want to rush him up and down with him because if he gets hurt, that might be your future um, catcher because the rumors might be, because Rutschman's not having a great year. He's having a good year behind the plate, but offensively, he is not producing like they expected him to. And that's the other reason why Baltimore's been terrible. The offense has been absent. No one's producing. Holiday's the only guy that's been pretty consistent. Tyler O'Neill was good, then he got hurt. He just came back.
Yeah.
Mullins has
He's not.
carried the team.
He's really close to
He's
the Mendoza
consistent.
line. He's not
Yeah.
hitting like he. Yeah, he's not hitting. You know what's funny? Today we were supposed to, go into game two. Last night was a great game. Me and Lasha. Lasha's been having a lot of fun lately because the first thing that happens is that his two teams, end up at Truist Park, Baltimore versus Atlanta. And the craziest shit
Swept them.
about it, that was the craziest shit about it right there. I was just about to say that, right? And then after that, the Mets are playing Baltimore now. Last night, Lasha was on a big high. He's sending us a lot of
Oh
bullshit on
man,
the
this
chat.
is
He
crazy.
thinks he's gonna win the game. We come back and just snatch it right
Six to
from them.
two.
It was great. Today I was excited. I was like, I can't wait for this game to come on. At first I was like excited for the Toronto game. And I'm like, I was looking at it this morning. I was like, wow, Toronto's gonna sweep these guys. I mean, it looks easy and they're gonna go 11 in a row. Didn't happen. Listen, I'm a huge fan of anybody on top of the Yankees in the AL East. So today, Peterson and Shigano was supposed to, run into each other. And the funny thing was that, look, Peterson is 6-4, right? He had a good start to the season, then he started falling apart a little, but he's been the most consistent guy in the rotation right now. Then you have Shigano. Shigano came in, he won 6 games and he has 5 losses. The ERAs, Peterson had a 3.18 and Shigano had a 4.44, right? In the last 3 starts, though, Shigano had problems, right? ERA of 10.80, right? He allowed 26 hits. He struck out 11 and had 5 base on balls. Peterson, 646, allowed 18 hits, 13 strikeouts, 9 walks. But Peterson hasn't been going the distance. He's one of the few actually that, you know, has been able to pitch past the seventh or into the seventh, you know, in his last 2 starts. So let's see what he does tomorrow. I don't know what they're gonna do if they're gonna pitch him in the first game or the second game, but I'm excited. All right, maybe you guys win and then we'll need a rubber match. But I just want to get it out the way. I want to win tomorrow, win the series, and continue to keep winning because we're playing okay now. I'm saying we beat the Yankees. We beat Milwaukee, and now we're playing you guys, and hopefully we can win the series and continue to win. That'll be 3 series in a row, and that's going in the right direction. And Philly, Philly has it. We were tied prior to today's games, but we got you know postponed due to rain, so we're playing a doubleheader tomorrow. Philly played. They destroyed the Giants, 13-0. I think. I don't know. Am I exaggerating? Did I make it sound too good? I think it was 13-0. Something ugly, that's for sure.
No
But
man, San Francisco man. Ever since they got Devers, they've been. And guess what? Boston's been going up. They're on a little 5 game winning streak. So
yeah, so they
they're
lost
supposed to play
13
some
to
great
nothing today.
games.
Yeah, Giants won last night, and then the Phillies turned it around today, and they went 13-0. So they have a half a game lead on us because we didn't play today. That's okay though. Listen, they took the lead there. I like the Phillies. Listen, I'm not complaining. Listen, we were playing like shit. They took over, and now we have to fight for this. I like it. It's a fight. It's a fight. It seems like it was too easy for them to just go on a super run. But like I said, all the teams that were playing well decided to tank. The only team that kept playing well was Detroit, which is kind of crazy. Detroit continues to play well, continues to do damage with the likes of Javi Baez. That's crazy. I don't even understand that. But whatever. These guys have 59 wins. They're gonna be for sure the first, 60 win club this year, which is
Going into
crazy
All
because
Star break, yeah.
what I'm saying? Going into the All Star break, how fucking crazy is that, bro? These guys are gonna do serious damage, man. Listen, I can't wait. I don't want to see the Yankees there. If the Yankees make it, I hope they have to land on the Tigers' lap because it's gonna hurt. It's gonna
Oh,
hurt.
you know what'd be great? Speaking of the Yankees, Glaber Torre was awful in New York. He couldn't. He just was not productive. He was not a team player. He just now he goes to Detroit and he's an all star for them. Oh my gosh, watch them play each other in the playoffs and he comes up big in a big game against the Yankees.
It's
Yankee
funny because
fans
it's like the
will
battle
cringe.
of the pinstripes. Because their uniform is pretty similar to what the Yankees uniform is. If you notice, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be the battle, man. It's gonna be a great battle. Hey, the Mets are trying, man. That's all I can say. The Mets are trying. Listen, Brandon Nimmo's been hitting like a maniac in the last 38 games, bro.
He should have been an
308.
all star.
Yeah, man. 10 home runs, 25 RBIs. This isn't the last 38 games. He's just turned it around. He hit two grand slams in a week, bro. Like he's really turned it around. He's our captain. That's my captain. He's the people's captain. I feel like he's the unsung hero. I love that guy. But we're talking about grades now. We come to the point in the season where we have to talk about grades. I'm not gonna talk about every single team in the league, but I have a couple here. Just we were just talking about the Tigers. The Tigers, they graded the Tigers a plus, bro. All right, schoolball, Javi Baez doing his thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's pretty crazy over there. The energy that they bring to the diamond. It's kind of crazy. The Dodgers, they got a B. I'm pretty sure it's because of all the tanking. They have pitching problems. You know, but these guys, we're gonna have to see them in the playoffs. All right, they're definitely gonna make it. Like San Diego, the Giants, they kind of tanked a little bit, but you never know what can happen. The Phillies, of course, I put them up there because the Phillies are in my division. They're giving us problems right now. So the Phillies, they got a B. They started off a little slow, but you know what? They picked it up and now they're ready to fight. Harper's been hurt, you know what I'm saying? He's been slumping a little bit, but I'm pretty sure when they get it together, they'll be just fine. And I still think they're a force and you can't count them out. The Mets got to be as well. Listen, I don't have to, you know, tell you that I don't like what's happening this year with the Mets. I'm not happy with the lineup. Very unhappy with the development of the younger players and how they've been just like tossed around. Here, play there. Don't play today. Play over here, play there. You can't expect anything from guys like that when you're doing that to them. You know, you've had a serious problem with McNeil. Just hogging time from these kids. And they
Beatty,
develop, what I'm saying? Beatty's been another problem who's been hogging time from like players that I feel should be getting every day, play. But like listen, if we make it, cool, we made it. But I don't like the way we made it. Soto's been struggling. It seems like he wants to hit when the whole team isn't connecting. But when the team is connecting and the team is hitting, he doesn't show up. It's like a weird balance that we have going on there. And if that's the case, listen, I prefer Soto doesn't hit and collect his little walks and we'll take it from there. Because when we were doing that at the beginning of the season, it seemed to work. But now you mess with the lineup too. So now the lineup is different, which is something else I don't like. I can't. They say, oh, the bottom of the lineup sucks. Yeah, well, the bottom of the lineup has Jeff McNeil and Beatty in it. So how could it not suck? You know what I'm saying? Then you have Tyrone Taylor, who I like. You know what I'm saying? Defensively, he's great, but he sucks. He's not hitting the ball. So why are we playing him? We can't play him because you're not gonna put him on the top of the lineup, right? Because he's not hitting. You're gonna put him at the bottom of the lineup with McNeil and Beatty. So then, why even bother to play baseball? Because now you're running a 1 through 5, and then 4 automatic outs later, you're going back to the top of the order. Are you crazy? You can't win baseball games like that. But whatever. Listen, I'm just talking on my ass right now. I'm a little upset. And this is with a B. So then we have the Yankees. The Yankees they got a C. All right. They're trying to figure it out. It's a different ball club. But, at the end of the day, I think they still make the playoffs. If they don't make the playoffs, guess what? Early Christmas gift for you and I. But now the last two teams, excuse me, the last two teams are your teams. Atlanta with the fat F, deserving of the fat F. They are not playing to their potential.
no,
Okay?
the No, and Baltimore got F, but Baltimore, Atlanta had the same exact problems.
Yeah,
They
pitching.
have no pitching, and the offense is not what it's supposed to, what they predicted to be. Nowhere to be found. It's more upsetting with, um, I feel like it's more upsetting with Baltimore because Baltimore had high expectations. Atlanta, they
Same.
kind of
Yeah,
had a
me too.
feeling
I had.
that, with the Mets, they predicted the Mets to win the division and Phillies to be right there.
Hmm.
They knew that Atlanta took a step back with not re-signing Scherzer and letting Charlie Morton go.
And Freed.
And huh, Max
And
Fried. I
Freed.
meant what did I say?
Yeah.
Uh,
Scherzer,
yeah,
bro. I don't know why you
I don't know
mentioned
where I got
Scherzer.
Scherzer from. Brain
Listen,
fart. But
thinking
anyway,
about
you know what I
Scherzer.
mean.
Yeah, I know what you
They
meant.
so but the thing is with the Mets and the same thing with the Orioles is their star players are not seriously injured besides Orioles Rutschman. But other than that, the star guys are back. Yeah, Acuna just came back for the Braves, great. But everybody else, for the most part, Olson, he's hasn't produced much. Riley hasn't done much. Kelnick was supposed to be great. Michael Harris, he's been the biggest disappointment on the Braves. He swings at everything. He swings at the balls that are in at the outside the parking lot instead of just he's impatient. He swings at everything. Plays a great defense, but can't. He doesn't know how to control himself at the plate. Ozuna, he gets into one once in a while. Baldwin has been great. Albies has been having a mediocre season. He's not doing great.
Nah.
And then, but your big guys, Olsen, Riley, and Acuna, those are guys. And Murphy. Murphy's been terrible since he's came back from injury. I don't know what's wrong with him. Yeah, he had a home run the other day, but other than that, they've just been terrible. And that's what's more for me. That's more disappointing as going back to the Orioles is because it's not like they lost major pieces. Yeah, you lost Corbin Burns, you let him go,
Yeah, that was a
but
mistake.
three others, what do you call it? Yeah, Burns was gone, but Grayson Rodriguez, he got hurt. Can't think of the other players. Tyler Wells, he's coming off injury. Um, Kyle Bradish, three starters right there that were there last year. They're all coming back from injury, but by the time they come back, it's too late. Your season's over. So if I'm them, why have rushed them back? Let them take their sweet time. Wait for
Yeah, at
next
this
year.
point. Yeah, but
What's the rush?
listen, how bad is it for you guys right now? How bad is it? It's not that bad. All right,
It's
let's
not
let's look
bad.
at
They're
let's
staying
look at the wild
afloat.
card. Let's look at the wild card situation for you guys right now. Let's see how bad it is. It's not that bad. You got an F, but you guys are playing way better baseball now, right? You're 7 games back from the wild card, all right? You have a little bit of competition on the way there, right? But everything is kind of close. If you get into that 3 games back situation where you're playing really good baseball, right now, 7 games back isn't that bad, all right? You get on a couple of streaks here, win a couple of series, and you have a couple of teams in front of you. It's not that bad. Everybody's playing the same type of ball. When somebody tanks, you move up in the rankings and you'll be all right. But you can't quit. That's the saying. You can't quit, right? It's not over till the fat lady sings, right? I don't know if that's politically correct anymore, but you know what I mean. Now we're coming down to the hitter and the pitch of the week, and I don't like either one of these guys, and I'll explain to you why. So the first one is Judge. You pick these guys on a weekly basis. I don't have nothing to do with this, but I'm not saying you didn't pick the right guys. Judge, he's a maniac. 2 for 4, 2 home runs, based on balls, 4 RBIs. You know what I'm saying? Head of the week against the Sacramento slash whatever A's. You know what I'm saying? 12-1 Yankee win on the 29th. That's ridiculous. When they hit, bro. They couldn't do that shit against the Mets, though. I just want to say that. Then the gunslinger of the week, another guy that slipped away. Because if we had this guy, man, but obviously Will Era got rid of him. He's a Philly now. He's talking about retiring already. This guy, listen, amazing. He went 8 innings, 6 hits, none earned, 10 strikeouts. This is the stuff that I'm talking about. This is the guy that's definitely slipped away. Beating San Diego 4-0 on the 30th. That's amazing. I'm watching the San Diego and Arizona game in the background, and I have a serious problem with what's going on right now. So they have Dylan Cease on the mound.
He's
He
been
has been
terrible.
he's been terrible for this game. They're losing
Not
six
terrible
to
for the game.
one.
Whole
Listen,
season.
6-1. 94 pitchings in the
Six
sixth.
innings.
and they still have him out there dangling. What's wrong with these guys?
Their bullpen
What's
is
wrong?
not as good, and that's what it is. But besides their closer, they don't have a really good
Three
bullpen.
hits, one run for San Diego today, and they still have this guy dangling out there. Are you kidding me? Get out of here with that shit. That's just crazy. They don't want to win a World Series. They don't want to win, period. Now, question of the week. This is a very good question. It's going to be a three-parter for you, okay? So we give you points, you know what I'm saying? So the Baltimore Orioles and the New York Mets, right? They played in the World Series in what year?
Oh, the what was it? It was the 80 because they played in the World Series back to back years. Remember 86 and 80 was 85 or 86? One of
Nah,
those years.
man.
Mets won in
Nah,
86.
we
Did
did,
they
but
play
we
each
didn't
other
play.
in
We played Boston that year, bro.
the World Series? Okay, so it's got to
Yeah,
be
man.
80 was it 80, 84 I want to 85, right?
Nah, you're so wrong. It was 69. The Mets.
Oh,
Okay,
85.
and the Mets won that series, right? And I want you to tell me the second part of the question is what was the end all for that? The series. The Mets won because we only have two
Oh,
championships. So we won in 69 and we won in 86.
4 games to 2. You're asking how many games it went?
Yeah, how many games did the Mets win? Obviously they won four because they won the World Series. Now how
So
many
probably
games?
I would say 4 games to 2. No,
Nah,
no, that
four.
can't be right. 4 to 3 because it's seven. If it's 7 games,
No, 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 I didn't tell you it went 7 games. You just made that
how
up.
many games was? Oh,
It
okay,
went,
all right,
it
fine,
went, it
fine.
went, it went
So it's four
five.
games. That means that it was either a 6 game series or 5 game, I guess. So if it's a 5 game series, the World Series, then that means it was 4 to 1,
Okay,
or
four. You got that. It
yeah,
was yeah. They won one game. The Baltimore won one game during that series. All right,
that's
and
crazy.
then yeah,
That's
that's
the
crazy,
Earl
right?
Reaver,
Yeah. Okay. You know who else was on that team? The manager, Davy
Dave
Johnson,
Johnson. He was the
was
manager.
he's the manager of the Mets in the '86 series, which is crazy, right? And he was a player on the Baltimore Orioles for that World Series,
Yeah,
which is
that's
crazy, right?
crazy.
Now I looked up matches between Baltimore and the Mets, right? And apparently there's been less than 40 matches ever.
Yeah, because we're not in the
You know,
same
there was
league.
no interleague, for a long time. And obviously we didn't see each other unless we went to the World Series, So in total, I believe 39 games with yesterday's, right? Which is crazy, right? So they've only seen each other in a matchup 38 times ever
In the whole existence. That's
of
crazy.
baseball. Yeah, right? That's
Of
crazy,
both
right?
teams' existence.
Yes, yes. That's crazy, right? Little, fun facts and shit. Now, this is interesting as well. All right. There's been players that have played for both teams. All right. I want you to give me the number. All right. And I'll give you a higher and lower twice. How many players have played for both teams in the major league?
Ooh. How many players play for both teams?
Yes. In the history of the MLB.
I'd say less than 5. I'll go with 4.
Well, higher.
Really? More than 10?
Higher. That's it. You don't get any more. So
All right, there's got to be at least, I say 20.
wrong. You're not even close.
Wow.
138 players have played for both teams. That's crazy, right? For a team that's only seen each other 39 times, right? 138 players have played for both of those teams. The biggest ones, Eddie Murray, right? He played 2 seasons with the Mets, obviously, because, a lot of the great players came to the Mets to retire, you know what I'm saying? So, like, 13 seasons with the Orioles, two with the Mets. Roberto Alomar, 2 seasons with the Mets. He played three with Orioles, right? Three with the Orioles. Then we have Sid Fernandez, who won a championship with the Mets in '86. He played 10 seasons with the Mets, and he played two with Baltimore. Melvin Mora, another guy.
I remember Melvin Moore.
Yeah,
Yes, he
yeah.
was good, but he
Two
was with the
seasons with
Mets
the Mets
first.
and 10 seasons with Baltimore. Yeah, it was the other way around. He played with the Mets first, then he did 10 seasons with Baltimore. There's a lot of great names here that the craziest name of all was Bobby Bonilla.
He played for the Orioles.
Yeah, bro. That's
Oh
crazy.
wow,
I ran into this list, right? He played for the Orioles, bro. Right?
wow, I forgot
Let me
about
see.
that.
Another big name, let me see. We got Andy Chavez. He
I
played for
remember
the
Andy
Mets.
Chavez.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember he made this catch for the Mets one time. It was so crazy. But anyway, yeah, let me
He
see.
was
Kevin Bass.
Chavez. He's a big contributor in the '86 team, or was it the
No, no,
'60s?
no, 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 no. That was way later. That was way later, bro. Not in the
'80s,
86 team. Nah,
'90s.
yeah, the 90s. And then Jose Bautista played for both.
Oh, the guy that used to be on the Toronto Blue
Yeah,
Jays.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
He
So Bautista was drafted by the Orioles, never developed, and then did he go to the Mets after Toronto? I think so. That's what it was.
yeah, he played. He had a little stint there too. You know what I'm
Yeah, that's right.
saying?
I forgot
Yo,
about him.
another big one is Matt Harvey.
Yes, actually, Harvey played in during the 2020 COVID year. He did all right. He was actually not too bad. And then I forgot about that. He was more
Rich
like a
Rich
switch.
Hill, Rich Hill. I don't remember him.
I
I
remember
remember
Rich Hill.
him,
Yeah,
right?
didn't he come
So we
from like
got.
Tampa Bay originally? I forgot
I
where he
think
came
you're right.
from.
I think you're right. I can't remember, but I remember him. And then, Jeff Conine. Wow.
Yes, Jeff Cohn. I remember him.
All right, we got a lot of
Oh
big names. Jose
well,
Iglesias, Mister Oh my God, who's played for everybody, played for both teams as well.
wow. There was a guy. I couldn't think of his name. Starts with the M. I couldn't think. He played for the. I think he played for the Mets. Who else do you have on the list?
Okay, so we
If
have
you
it's
name it off, it'll
130.
come up to my mind.
I mean, there's a lot of big names here. Like, let me see. We got Ray Knight, another big guy that played for the '86 Mets. Played for the Orioles as well. Jeff McKnight. Wow, I remember him. Melvin Mora. We already mentioned that, right?
Yeah,
Let me see what else we got here.
third
Jay
base.
Payton. Jay Payton.
I
That's
remember Jay
crazy.
Payton.
Jesse Orosco, another '86
I remember
championship
Roscoe with the
winner.
Mets, not the
Yeah,
Orioles.
me neither. And who else do we have here? We have David Segui. I
What
don't
about
even remember him.
Mazzilli? Dave
Mazzilli. No,
Mazzilli?
I don't see
Oh,
him here. Oh, Tatis.
Tatis.
His father. His father.
Senior played for the Orioles and the Mets. I knew he was a Cardinal most of his life.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Senior. Yeah. Ruben
Who was the guy
Tejada.
you said? Yeah, I remember.
Oh,
Who's the
Justin
other?
Turner. Justin Turner. That's crazy. I had no
Turner.
idea.
He's another one. He was like Bautista, drafted by the
Yeah.
Orioles, but never came out, and then went somewhere else and was great.
Oh,
Turner
wow.
joined the Mets afterward, the Dodgers,
Yeah,
right?
Turner never got to really get never developed really well with the Mets because we had David Wright, so he didn't get a lot of playing time, so it didn't work out for him. He actually exploded when he left the Mets, and he became a force. But
Oh, you know what's another a player who was he was infamous for this. Jorge Lopez when he threw the he was great with the Orioles as a
oh
closer, and then
man,
that one game
round of applause
he
for Mr.
he threw the
Lopez,
gloves into the stands, and
and
ever
that was
since
the
now
turning
he's in
point in the season.
Washington
Yeah, of course he was gonna find a job, of course,
because
but
he was awful for the Mets.
no,
Now
listen, he
he's in
got
Washington.
frustrated. Yeah, that was Todd Zeal, one of our analysts. He played for the Orioles as
Oh,
well.
that's what I'm thinking of Todd Zeal.
So many big names play for both of
Wow,
these
that's
teams,
crazy.
which is crazy, right? 138 guys to be exact. It's pretty crazy.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot. You know, I'm pretty sure I missed a couple of names.
Well,
Steve
The Mets
Traxel.
came into
Wow,
business what in 1962, I think, and the Orioles in 1900 something, whatever it was.
I can't remember those numbers.
No, Orioles became official in 1954, and I think the Mets became because the came in after the Dodgers and the Giants left.
It's left. Yeah.
That's how if you want to know how the Mets got their colors, they took the
Yes.
color from the Giants and the color from the Dodgers and became the Metropolitans because they felt like just having the Yankees wasn't enough. Um, that's
Thank God
crazy.
for that. Thank God for that because man, I can't see myself being a Yankee fan. But you know what? You never know. Nah,
Who
but
knows,
nah.
man?
Yeah, that's ugly. That's let's not even think about that. That alternate universe. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. So I was scrolling here and I see that Mr. LeMahieu was
Andrew LeMahieu.
DFA'd
Yeah.
by the Yankees. What?
Oh, he's been terrible, man. He can't play. He doesn't have a bat anymore, and he can't play the field anymore. He's a guy in baseball terms. He's old. He's like 36. He's like a little younger than me. But in baseball teams, he's just been awful. But the problem with the Yankees is they're playing guys in wrong positions. They got Jazz Chisholm, losing Oswaldo Peraza, I think, the third baseman to an ankle injury. He was supposed to be the third baseman, but he's a good defender, but terrible bat. And Chaz Chisholm is a naturally second baseman. He's playing third, but he said in the offseason, he goes, they didn't tell me I was gonna be third baseman because they just assumed, LeMahieu would come back. Well, you know what it was? They knew that Oswaldo Peraza would be playing, and so they're like, all right, we don't have to worry about it. Chisholm will play second base, and that's his natural position.
Yeah, that's what they did. They moved
And
him to
he's a
second.
team player. He's been all right, but but the biggest problem with the Yankees has been Anthony Volpe. They said they could have gotten Javier Baez. They could have got all these other shortstops. They could not Javier Baez. They could have got Carlos Correa from the Twins or Astros at the time. And they said, nope, we're gonna hold on to Volpe because he's supposed to be a superstar and blah blah blah. He's been terrible. He's booting the ball around. He's not productive. He's an average, below average hitter. So it's starting to look bad for the Yankees. He's a homegrown, New Jersey guy, and they put a lot into this guy. He's been terrible.
You know what?
But I
That
don't know.
makes me happy.
Well, yeah, it is. But the Yankees, the reason why Yankees are doing bad is because they got players playing in their non-traditional spots, and it's coming to roost, and it's backfiring. But what are you gonna do? You're not gonna get Peraza back. He's out for the year. The other third baseman is not that great. You got guys in the minors. You can't call them up yet. It's too. You know who they want to call up? Who's a feature shortstop? George Lombard Jr. I think he's their shortstop. He's their feature prospect, but problem is they don't want to give up on him. You know how bad the Yankees would look if they gave up on him that quickly on Volpe. I don't know what the Volpe problem is. I don't know if he's got the pressure of feeling like he's the next Derek Jeter. I think that has to do with it too. Because the Yankees had such amazing all-star shortstop, Hall of Famer, and now to have him in there, geez, that's a big shoes to fill. And so he feels that pressure. He's like Derek Jeter, homegrown, grew up in Jersey. Yankees were his favorite team, and now I don't know. It's still young, who knows? But Volpe's starting to look like Gary Sanchez. I'm not Gary Sanchez. Well, Gary Sanchez too, but more so Gleyber Torres couldn't do well in New York. He's gonna go somewhere else. He could be a superstar. So who knows?
A
But
change of scenery changes everything.
yeah, New York it's a lot of pressure, man. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you have to have thick skin, because New York City, New York, the fans they lay it on you thick and thin right then and there. They'll let you know when you're doing bad. They let you do no when you're great. There's no, it's not like Milwaukee or Baltimore or Atlanta where fans always love you because you're the best
Yeah.
player. We love you. Blah blah.
Listen, the
No,
ebbs
you're
and
gonna
flows
feel
of
it.
the season. Some fans take it a lot better than others, but when you have a winning formula and your team is, always on top, and things like this happen, everybody notices.
Yep.
But listen, the All Star game is coming. We have the ABS system coming into play for the first time ever in a Major League Baseball game. I'm excited. Baltimore's playing better baseball. The Mets seem to have turned it around. We'll find out tomorrow if we can win the series, or are we going into a rubber match. I'm excited for our teams together. It's been fun, but it's been tragically, you know, disappointing as well. Like can't do so well and then just fall apart, like that. Like, I don't know. It's just weird. But we'll see what happens. I don't think we have what it takes to win a championship, especially with all these problems we have. But listen, the trade deadline is around the corner. Let's see what happens. Last year we tried to predict what was gonna happen and the complete opposite happened. I like the where we were at last year at this point in the season. I like the players on our team a lot better. I don't think this team has the same type of energy and the same type of chemistry that we had last year, but we're still a winning ball club. And is it the same for me? No, it's not. I'm not enjoying it as much as I was last year. But we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. Maybe I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem for the Mets too. is their catching. Turan's is a good defender, but the lack of offensive production from both of them. Now you expect that from Torrance because he wasn't
No, no,
hyped
but you
up
know
and he
what? The
was a
crazy no, but
prospect.
he's hitting the ball though. He's not a problem. No, he's not the problem. I can't say anything negative about Mr. Torrens. Torrens came in and he looked like he was a starter. Even last year, we were like, wow, this guy looks like, he's not gonna want to play here because he doesn't want to be a backup. That was my problem last year with him. And that's a good problem to have. I was like, this guy's too good to be a backup. And look what happens. Alvarez breaks his hand. He comes back. He's unable to produce. He's funny behind the plate. I don't, so Torrens came in clutch because it's not like we're struggling with a backup catcher. We actually have a catcher that I think can actually do his thing. And, he's really good defensively. He's hitting the ball. It's the Beatty, it's the Taylors, and the mismanagement and the development of the players that's what's bothering me, and it's a lot. That's a lot to work with. I don't want to see these guys jumping back and forth. But anyway, it was a great episode. Trivia was
Yeah, man.
amazing. I had fun with the trivia tonight. We had a lot of fun things to talk about. Mr. Bacon, you know how I feel about you. I'm not gonna, say anything nasty. But you gotta shape up, brother. You gotta fix it. We gotta figure this out. All right. You can't be 92%. You know what? When you play when you're umpiring Met games, you gotta step up your game. I don't care what you do on the side, but when you play, when you're on the field with the Mets, I need you to step up your game. I don't need these problems. All right. We have enough problems. But hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Craig, love you. And we're gonna see you on the next one. Have a good night, guys.
Later, guys. See you
Peace,
next time.
Lash.